Okay, Mama really wants to talk to y'all about something because this is a huge analogy and we really need to consider something here. We're going to talk about the truth behind why the frog doesn't jump out of the boiling water. Yes, that is a very big topic. But I tell you right now, this topic, it's about the frog. It is about you. It is about me. It is about everything going on. It's very important to get that I'm talking about. People do this experiment in schools and in other places. People literally put a frog, a living frog, in boiling water to put an analogy of scientific nonsense BS into why the frog does not jump out of the boiling water. Did you know that experiment happens and that people do that? As disturbing as that really is, we are kind of the same thing. So, I'm hoping to create a piece of art because I do art all the time. And in this piece of art, I want to draw a frog and boiling water of some kind as a picture to represent this. And if I've done so, I'm going to take this moment to add it in. If not, then I'll just have a picture of a frog that I know I already got. I got a few. I like frogs. Anyways, so the experiment concerning putting a live frog in water, allowing the water to rise to a boil, to see if the frog will jump out, knowing very well the frog will not jump out. Why doesn't the frog jump out? There's several things that actually goes on for the reason to why the frog doesn't jump out. It starts out not being a bad thing. There the frog is sitting in the water. It's beginning to warm up. So it went from being cold to now it's getting warm. It's sitting there, the temperature starts rising, and it starts to get a little bit uncomfortable. But the frog is still sitting there just soaking up the heat. And next thing you know, the water is beginning to get a little too hot, and the frog begins to think, oh my goodness, this ain't normal, what do I do? Then the frog makes the decision to continue to sit there to where the point of the state of what is uncomfortable, which is the boiling water to the frog, he sits there. And then by the time it gets to the point to where his brain says, I gotta get out of here, it's a little too late. By that time, the water already rose to a level to where the body was affected in such a way that the frog wasn't able to actually react. And thus, sadly, the frog always dies in the experiment. It is very rare that when this experiment happens, the frog will ever jump out. I'm sure there are some frogs that did, or do, or would, or just never did. A lot of people did the experiment. It says the frog does not leave the water. Kids perform this experiment even in school. They're science labs. And you don't think that that's wrong? How was it that that frog, one of God's living creatures, was worth the knowing, intentional torture to its death? What makes anyone think that to a human or any living thing is actually okay? It's really disturbing. But that experiment with the frog does happen. And hardly anyone fights for that frog to not be killed for an experiment. Now, our lives are like that as well. other people with the interest of money experiment on us. And for the most part, we are unaware because we are going along with everything. And in the beginning, it's comfortable. It's not that bad. It's actually good. And then as you continue, and then all of a sudden, it's not getting so comfortable anymore. And by the time you start to realize that your life and everything that made something worth it, on many levels and topics that you might want to use this in reference to, anything that was once enjoyable and pleasant that then became unpleasant is a sign of potential danger. But for one reason or another, we make the choice and the decision to continue on. And then things start to get uncomfortable. And we sit there. And it starts to get more uncomfortable. And the next thing you know, you can't do anything about it because you're just there. And this is what it is. Now what do? You're still cautious enough, you're thinking about, what do I do now that I cannot continue to stay like this? What do I do? And then all kinds of things begin to happen. Are you going to react? Are you going to change what is so unbearable that you can't stand it anymore? Are you going to make the decision to do what you need to do, as hard as it is, regardless of what it is over? Are you going to be like the frog and sit there when the water starts to get a little too hot and it gets hotter? Are you going to be like the frog and not take a leap of faith? Or are you just going to sit there as things begin to continuously get worse and worse and worse and more uncomfortable and more undesirable, and continue to sit there until it's too late? Many things are like that. We are all frogs, sitting in pots, enjoying something. Then all of a sudden it becomes unenjoyable. When you don't enjoy it no more, and now it's unpleasant. Or maybe other things are going on and you just can't put the pieces together to realize why. To realize why something is all of a sudden not so well anymore. Not so good. Not so desirable. Are you a frog in a pot? Have you sat too long in a situation you should have got out of? Is your water boiling? Is something screaming that something needs to happen? I have been like a frog in boiling water many times. I continue to take leaps, not knowing what may be what I'm landing in, but I take a leap of faith. And I show that because regardless, when this ain't working, I must react and take a leap. When something says that this is uncomfortable, it is time to take a leap of faith and do something or meet your demise. We all had a decision to make, to either take a leap or not take a leap. Maybe I didn't always leap at the right time, but I still leaped. When there was no way around with what my options were, as hard as it was, I had to take a leap of faith and trust that this was all part of something. And continue to go on knowing that one day, somehow, some way, that this was going to be worth it. And according to God, it will be worth it. Because I wasn't just a normal frog. This little tadpole decided to grow up and morph into something else. And maybe I had to become a little toxic in order to go through the change. But I was never a normal frog. I realized what was going on. Hard and uncomfortable as times as it might have been, and continued to make actions and acted by faith. I was the frog that took a leap of faith. So with that in mind, with everything that's going on, remember that God is about truth and love. And I do my best with everything going on. I do my best to be as truthful and forward as I can. But many things affect how all of this works. And at the same time, I continue to fight for truth. Seeing, knowing, and understanding along the way that many things have been altered enough to where it became hard to understand. But I continued to push forward, knowing that between all the little veils, and some veils were there to deceive more than others, but between these veils still lied a real truth. And I seen it. And that's a good thing and a bad thing on many levels. And I still push forward. So with that in mind, this frog is going to leap on off of here, and hope you think about how real all of this is. And realize the times that we are in.